Liaoning is a coastal province in northeast China that is the smallest, southernmost, and most populous province in the region, with its capital at Shenyang. It is located on the northern shore of the Yellow Sea, and is the northernmost coastal province of the People's Republic of China. Historically a gateway between China proper and Manchuria, the modern Liaoning province was established in 1907 as Fengtian or Fengtian province and was renamed Liaoning in 1929. It was also known at that time as Mukden province for the Manchu name of Shenzhen, the former name of Shenyang. Under the Japanese puppet Manchukuo regime, the province reverted to its 1907 name, but the name Liaoning was restored for a brief time in 1945 and then again in 1954. Liaoning is also known in Chinese as the Golden Triangle, from its shape and strategic location. With the Yellow Sea in the south, North Korea's North Pyongan and Chugeng provinces in the southeast, Jilin to the northeast, Hebei to the southwest, and Inner Mongolia to the northwest. The Yalu River marks the province's border with North Korea, emptying into the Korea Bay between Dandong in Liaoning and Sinuiju in North Korea. Prior to 3rd century BC, Donghu, Gojozong and Yemak peoples inhabited Liaoning. The state of Yan conquered the area around 300 BC. Two commanderies, Liaodong and Liaoshi, were established within the Liaoning region. The Yan city of Xiangping, the center of Liaodong, was located on the site of the present Liaoyang city. After the fall of the Ha dynasty, warlord Gongsun Du and his family established and maintained a semi-independent state based in Liaodong, until it was defeated by Cao Wei in 238. The state, also known as Yan, conducted numerous maritime diplomatic and trade expeditions, and had a lasting influence on Northeast Asian culture despite being short-lived. From 4th to 5th century AD, Liaoning was ruled by Shanbei dynasties of the Murong tribe, former Yan, later Yan, and Northern Yan. In 436, as Northern Wei seized the Yan capital, Liaodong Peninsula was taken over by Goguryeo. Tang dynasty annexed the region during the Goguryeo-Tang War. However, when the An-Lushan rebellion drained Tang's resources away from its frontiers, Balhae gradually expanded into Liaodong. Eventually, Liaoning was conquered by the Khitan Liao dynasty, followed by the Jushan Jin dynasty and the Mongol Empire. The Ming Empire took control of Liaoning in 1371, just 3 years after the expulsion of the Mongols from Beijing. Around 1442, a defense wall was constructed to defend the agricultural heartland of the province from a potential threat from the Jushan Mongol Oryeonghan from the northwest between 1467 and 1468. The wall was expanded to protect the region from the northeast as well, against attacks from Jianzhou Jushans. Although similar in purpose to the Great Wall of China, this Liaodong Wall was of a lower-cost design. While stones and tiles were used in some parts, most of the wall was in fact simply an earth dike with moats on both sides. Despite the Liaodong Wall, the Manchus conquered Liaodong, or Eastern Liaoning, in the early 17th century, decades before the rest of China fell to them. The Manchu dynasty, styled later Jin, established its capital in 1616 to 1621 in Xinjiang. It was moved to Dongjing, and finally in 1625 to Shenzhen. Although the main king capital was moved from Shenzhen to Beijing after it fell to the king in 1644. Shenzhen retained its importance as a regional capital throughout most of the Qing era. The Qing conquest of Liaoning resulted in a significant population loss in the area, as many local Chinese residents were either killed during fighting, or fled south of the Great Wall, many cities being destroyed by the retreating Ming forces themselves. As late as 1661, the civil governor of Fengtian province, Zhang Shangshan, reported that, outside of Fengtian city, Liaoyang, and Hecheng, all other cities east of the Liao were either abandoned, or hardly had a few hundred residents left. In the governor's words, Tailing and Fushun only have a few vagrants. West of the Liao, only Ningyong, Jinzhou, and Guangning had any significant populations remaining. In the latter half of the 17th century, Many of the current residents of Liaoning trace their ancestry to these 17th-century settlers. The rest of China's northeast, however, remained officially off-limits to Han Chinese for most of the Manchu era. To prevent the migration of Chinese to those regions, the so-called Willow Palisade was constructed. The palisade encircled the agricultural heartlands of Fengtian, running in most areas either somewhat outside the old Ming Liaodong wall, or reusing it, and separating it from the Manchu forests to the northeast and the Mongol grazing lands to the northwest. Later on, the Qing government tried to stop the migrants' flow to Fengtian or even to make some settlers return to their original places of residence.